Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Um, it was Wayne Dyer who said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this is like actual science. It's called the observer effect. By all means, look that up. Under this video, I'm going to be putting a link to some interesting stuff I found about the observer effect and some interesting stuff I found about Dr. Wayne Dyer. Today, I will tell you my story with Storywork and how it has made such a huge difference to my own personal growth journey, and how I will now teach it. Yes, teach it. How I will now teach it in a fully trauma-informed, somatic way to my clients. But this story starts round about 2017. I was going through several different coaching programs relating to my binge eating disorder. And once I'd completed those, the coach who had led me through those programs, the amazing, the unstoppable Brittany Brown, offered me a job in around about summertime of 2019. Now, after just over a year or so mentoring Brittany's clients, I knew that I was emotionally ready to coach. So it was time for me to do some training. Yeah. Some proper trauma-informed somatic training to add to my experience. And also, to teach her clients and support her clients. However, before I completed those certifications, Brittany unfortunately closed her business. But I remained committed to my coaching journey and started to build out my ideas for the 3Ps program for people pleasers. I did this because, or focused there and did that course, did that work because I found that probably 95% of the people that we were supporting and guiding for binge eating disorders were also dealing with the trauma response of people pleasing. So I completed 2 trauma-informed somatic certifications by the end of 2021. One was breathwork, which by its nature is somatic, and one was somatic coaching, both trauma-informed. When I passed those certifications, it was time for me to start my business. Yeah. Now, taking that step and launching the 3P system for people pleasers was so much fun. So much fun. I really enjoyed it. I took 3 small sort of, and when I say small, I mean the largest of the 3 groups was 12 through the program. And those early clients helped me to develop that program into a system. So it's now called 3P's system, which has allowed so much more room for my clients to customize their own path through the materials, to integrate the work. This now allows them to take that learning and actually have it become part of their day-to-day life. Now, when I started to work on this part of my learning, to turn my learning into a business, I started to work with a business coach. But even after I had made my choice of business coach, I started to get bombarded, thank you, Facebook algorithm, by adverts for other business coaches. It's like once you show an interest in one, they automatically assume you want to see everything. But I was stuck. Yeah. I was stuck in a mental paralysis that I found extraordinarily difficult to shift. I was using many of the somatic coaching techniques that I'd been taught and still couldn't get unstuck. I couldn't figure out what was in my way. Something was missing. Something was missing in me, or missing from me. and I couldn't quite figure it out. Then one of those Facebook ads popped up in front of me for a short challenge called Get Out of Your Own Way. Yeah. And this sounded like just what I needed to get out of my own way. And after the challenge, I got on a sales call. She was a mindset and business coach. I got on that sales call and was convinced to sign up. The first thing that was covered in her program was a methodology called Storywork. Now, fast forward a bit. Storywork has made such a big difference to me as a human being and to me as a coach. But before I go deeper into that, I just want to explain what Storywork is, and yeah, why I'm now bringing it into the 3P system. It's not something that I've included up to now for a few reasons. First, it was inappropriate for the people within the community. Yeah, they weren't ready to do that kind of entire life story deep dive kind of situation. Yeah. Also, I needed further time to study and to research in order to teach it in a trauma-informed way. Yeah, a way that was in alignment with my intuition, with what feels right to my body. Yeah, the way I coach and the kind of clients that are aligned and the kind of clients that are aligned with me. So my version of Storywork is not the same as the version that I was taught. Yeah, just to be completely clear. Right? So it's probably going to be different from what you've heard, which is why I needed to explain that. My version of Storywork is a structure, or like a framework, if you will, within my trauma-informed coaching method. And it definitely has a place, because as you learn about the change that you can choose, yeah, my hope is that you will get even more out of the trauma-informed somatic Storywork method than I got from it originally when it was taught as purely a mindset method. Now, at the time of recording this, which is November 2024, I am creating classes, several classes in a little string, to teach my version of Storywork as an optional set of classes for my clients within the community. Yeah, it's available for those who want or need to do that deep dive into their whole life, their whole being. Yeah. In a lot of ways, I am still waiting for a new name or description to come to me. So I might not even be calling it Storywork. But it's all about, rewriting, recreating, reinventing the bullshit that we tell each other on a daily basis. And more to the point, that we tell ourselves. Yeah. The first part of this work involves writing your story, your life story, and writing it in a logical and chronological way. I've developed several different steps that you go through, starting off with the bullets, then going deeper into each section, and then writing the story in full. Yeah. This sort of becomes a list of things that have actually happened to you in your lifetime so far. Your truth, your lived experience, not the fiction you tell yourself, yeah, but what actually happened, what you remember. Also, what you've been told about it and by whom, because all of these things make up part of the conditioning that we are all subjected to. Right? It's not just marketing companies who condition us, it's our own families and our own stories. Yeah. This will require a number of things. Yeah, that you have access to support initially, a confidential way to record your words so that they are private, and a safe coaching or therapeutic container to work in. Now, looking at those three things separately, access to support could mean friends, girlfriend group, women's circle, that kind of support. Yeah. A confidential way to write your words. Now, we are blessed in this era, yeah, that we can password protect things like Google Documents, for instance. Google Documents are great because you can share them specifically with someone else who then has to log in and use a password to get to them. Yeah. So Google Docs is the way that I recommend you do this. And in terms of the safe coaching or therapeutic container, yeah, this really has to be, really has to be a trauma-informed specialist. Really. Yeah. If someone wants to teach you Storywork and they do not have a trauma-informed specialist either on their team or have that certification themselves, then just don't do it. Yeah. My experience was quite difficult because I gave myself over to the process and the process was not trauma-informed. Yeah. So I had to then sort of pick myself up and give myself that trauma healing support. So once you've got your story, after that, you're going to need to partner with, again, a trauma-informed specialist to get the help in identifying the see, this is another point of my teaching. I don't know what to call these. You need to kind of identify the pivotal moments, yeah, the crux points in your life so far, yeah, the big things, but also the little things that hold a lot of power. Yeah, please try not. Please do not try to do this without trauma-informed support. This work is deep and it may surprise you, startle you, or trigger you. Yeah, depending on how deep you may need to go. Yeah, it's a very individual thing. When you then look at each and every one of those crux points, sometimes you can tackle those narratives in groups. By that, I mean, groups of moments, so like repeating patterns, for instance, or groups of people with similar experiences. This is a trauma-informed method of bringing peers together, yeah, but it is very fluid. This is how you start to take your narrative apart. Yeah, this is the beginning of the real work. Writing your story is going to be, well, I'm not going to say easy, put it that way. Yeah. It's when you start to take it apart that the real work begins. And when you do that with a coach or a therapist, you can work through the pain and the joy and rewrite your story from a healed, evolved, and aligned way. Yeah. And that word aligned is different for everybody. Yeah. I'd like to give you an example from my lived experience. And this example is that, in terms of the logical documenting of it, is that when I was a baby, I was left by my mum in a nursing home in Bristol while she came to Suffolk and got a job with a family as a mother's help, which is kind of like a housekeeper. Yeah. Logically, yeah, logically and mindset wise, I completely understand that this was required of her to convince the authorities that she was going to be able to look after me. Because in 1967, when I was born, yeah, I know, long time ago, babies born to unmarried mothers were adopted. That was, the normal course of things. That's just what happened. But my mother wanted to keep the daughter of the man that she loved. She was a warrior. She didn't change the world, but she changed my world. I feel that I have always known logically that I was not abandoned, because since I've been able to fully understand the story as it was told to me, that's how it's always felt. Well, that's the knowledge that I've always had, that I wasn't abandoned, that I was just left for that period of time while she got a job and she was going to come back to get me. And it's all very, very chatty, very logical through my brain. However, that is not how my body and nervous system felt at that time. Yeah, I'm going to stress that, at that time, because at that age, literally weeks old, there was no logical part of my brain even developed, no language center to allow me to understand my mum saying, bye-bye, Tanya, I'll be back soon. Yeah. I didn't understand that my mother was coming back. All I knew was that connection was gone. And that disconnect between my body and my brain meant that no amount of mindset work was ever going to heal the somatic sensations of abandonment that my body had experienced at that time and had carried with me in like a secret pocket of my belly ever since. Now, during the process of story work that I went through, and again, just reminder, that wasn't trauma informed, so it was a little bit harsh. During that process, I wrote out the what happened to me part quite comfortably. But it was when I actually explored it fully and started allowing my body to feel that I then had to go through a process of forgiveness and healing before that part of my story could be rewritten in the voice of a healed and evolved human being that I am now, and not the baby that I was then. This wasn't the only crux point in my life, and wasn't the only opportunity that I had to rewrite my own story. But it took the logical steps of writing the story, then sharing the story, sharing it in trust with a coach who then coded the experiences of my life, kind of tagging them with story analysis codes that then supported me in identifying repeated patterns, things that were coming up again and again and again. Then I was able to explore those patterns and the lessons of how I told my story to myself, the excuses I would give myself for behavior. And during those additional processes of taking those crux points, all of those incidences and looking at the lessons, I was able to choose to behave and show up in a different way, live in a different energy. Yeah. I was able to choose my own story and how I told it in a different way. I was no longer a victim. The other crux points in my life have been rewritten too, and have been done so from a point of a survivor, not a victim. Yeah. A lot of stuff in my life made me feel like a victim, made me feel like I was not enough. But actually, when you think about it, when you go into these instances, I was then able to see that I survived those things. I wasn't a victim of those things. I am a survivor of those things. And I've also forgiven myself for over 30 years, yeah, adult years, of excuses for not living up to my own potential in work, at home, as a step parent, all of those areas of my life. But I've forgiven myself for that and moved on. And now there are, I was about to say no more excuses, but you know what? I'm not going to say never, right? Now there are so few excuses, yeah? Because now when a crux point happens, like a couple of years ago, when I discovered that the man who mum had told me was my biological father wasn't, and it was someone else, and I had two other sisters, and the man who was my biological father had three women pregnant at the same time in late 66, 67. Yeah. Now, when a crux point like that turns up, I tend to go quite quiet because I pause and I breathe and I decide. I choose how that crux will be written in my personal story. I hold myself to higher standards than I have for all of my adult life. I forgive myself. I accept myself. Yeah. Um, Alignment for me and living in alignment for me means safety, calm, patience, tolerance, balance, and respect. Respect for others, respect for me. Yeah. If this video has piqued your interest, if hearing about how Storywork influenced my story is interesting to you, please like and share. Consider subscribing to this channel so that you don't miss any new videos. If you want more than just videos, join my Facebook group. And if you're not into Facebook, then join my mailing list. I will pop all of the necessary links in the description below. And all that leaves me to say is bye-bye for now.